There are moments in life when the silence feels deafening, when prayers seem to vanish into the void, and the path ahead lies cloaked in shadow. Yet, what if that silence is not absence but orchestration? What if the stillness is the gentle turning of divine hands, composing a melody we have not yet learned to hear? Like stars charting silent arcs across the heavens, your life moves according to a rhythm older than time. And beauty into every broken place. The trials you face are not detours, but sacred brushstrokes in a masterpiece still unfolding. Even the tears you weep water the roots of tomorrow's bloom. You are not adrift. You are being carried. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. So trust the process, not because you understand it, but because it was crafted by the one who does. There's something comforting, even miraculous, about the realization that your life is not unfolding by accident, that no part of your journey, no high, no low, no long night of waiting is wasted. From where we stand, the road may look crooked, the timing may seem off, and the circumstances may feel unfair. But from heaven's view, there is a design far more intricate and beautiful than we could ever imagine. You are not living by chance. You are living by a divine blueprint, authored by the one who sees the end from the beginning. Now, that doesn't mean the path will always be clear. Often it won't be. You may be walking through a season right now where nothing makes sense. You're doing your best to remain faithful, to stay the course, but the pieces don't seem to fit, and you're wondering, Lord, are you even in this? Oh, but listen, he is. He's in the delay. He's in the detour. He's even in the door that closed when you were so sure it would open, because God does not write stories in fragments. He weaves wholeness from what looks like brokenness to us. Just like an artist who steps back from the canvas to adjust the lighting, or a composer who pauses between notes to let the music breathe, God is always at work, even when you don't see the brush moving. Every moment in your life has a place in the tapestry of His will. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is random. You were not born into this time, into this family with these gifts and burdens by coincidence. You were placed intentionally, purposefully, into the exact life that would shape you for what He's already prepared. That means even your waiting is doing something. Even your wondering has weight. And that longing in your heart that won't go away, that's not a flaw. That's a calling. God put eternity in our hearts so we would never be fully content apart from Him, so we would keep seeking, keep trusting, even when we don't understand. You and I, we are part of something far larger than what we can comprehend. And the beauty of it all is that we don't have to understand the blueprint to trust the builder. He knows what He's building. He knows who He's making you to be. And every step of your life, whether uphill or uncertain, is leading you closer to the person He already sees completed in His heart. So don't lose heart when you can't trace His hand. Trust His heart. He's not improvising. He's fulfilled. He is a unique kind of ache that comes in the quiet seasons, the ones where heaven seems hushed and all we're left with are unanswered prayers and heavy hearts. We cry out, we plead, we search for signs, but all we get in return is silence. And it's in that silence many of us begin to wonder, has God stopped listening? Have I done something wrong? But I want you to hear this today. Silence is not absence. Silence is not rejection. Silence, more often than not, is preparation. God does some of His most sacred work in the stillness. Just because He's not speaking doesn't mean He's not moving. Sometimes the teacher is silent during the test, not because he's left you alone, but because he's watching to see what you've learned, to see if you trust Him even when you can't trace Him. Think about the life of Jesus. Before He ever healed the sick or walked on water, there were 30 silent years in Nazareth. Years of shaping, waiting, listening. Not one recorded miracle, not one moment of public ministry, just quiet faithfulness. But in that hidden place, something holy was forming. And I believe the same is true for us. You see, we live in a world addicted to noise, constant movement, instant answers, fast solutions. But God doesn't rush the eternal. He lets roots grow deep before the fruit is ever seen. So if you're in a season where nothing seems to be happening, let me reassure you, something is happening. It's just happening beneath the surface. It's happening in the unseen. He's building your endurance. He's refining your faith. He's clearing the path ahead so that when the time comes, you're not just stepping into a blessing, you're ready for it. I know it can be difficult. The silence can feel like a void, but it's not a void. It's a womb. Something is being born in you. Patience, trust, dependence on God instead of circumstances. And when the time is right, that silence will break, not with a whisper, but with clarity and purpose. And until that moment comes, don't confuse quiet with quitting. Don't misread God's stillness as God's absence. He's closer than you think, more involved than you know, and more loving than you can comprehend. Your cries have not gone unheard. Your tears are not overlooked. He has gathered every one. So in the waiting, lean in. In the quiet, listen deeper. In the stillness, keep showing up in faith. One of the hardest things we'll ever wrestle with in this life is pain, especially the kind we didn't expect, the kind that interrupts our plans or knocks the wind out of our faith. And when it comes, we often find ourselves asking the same question, why? Why did this happen? Why now? Why me? And if we're honest, somewhere deep down, many of us wonder, if God really loves me, why would he allow this? But here's what I want you to consider. Pain is not always punishment. Sometimes pain is preparation. It doesn't mean God has abandoned you. It may mean he's getting ready to use you. We forget that even the strongest trees are shaped by the wind. Diamonds are formed under pressure, and gold is purified in fire. The same is true of your life. God doesn't allow suffering to destroy you. He uses it to develop. Now, that's not always easy to hear when you're in the middle of it, but the truth is some of the most profound growth we'll ever experience comes in seasons of struggle. Not because we enjoy the pain, but because pain has a way of removing all the things we've leaned on that can't hold us. It strips away the illusion of control and brings us face to face with the one who is in control. When you walk through suffering, you learn things about God that you can't learn any other way. You discover his nearness. You learn that his grace really is sufficient. You find that his peace truly does pass understanding. Those aren't just verses anymore. They become reality. Because when everything else fails and he's all you have, that's when you realize he's all you need. Sometimes we ask God to take the trial away, and sometimes he does. But other times he walks us through it, because there are things we need to learn in the fire that we can't learn outside of it. And what's incredible is this. Even in our pain, God is doing more than we know. He's strengthening our faith, softening our hearts, giving us compassion for others, building in us a testimony that someone else is going to need. And here's the beautiful part. He's not just with you in the pain. He's ahead of you, already working it for your good. What the enemy meant to harm you, God is already turning into something that will bless you and others in ways you can't see yet. So don't mistake the presence of pain for the absence of God. He is nearer than you know. And the tears you cry today may become the healing someone else needs tomorrow. Faith is one of those words we hear often, but when life gets hard, when the future looks uncertain, we start to realize that faith isn't just a word we speak, it's a life we live. And living by faith means trusting even when we don't understand. It means walking when the path is unclear, believing before the breakthrough comes, and holding on to God's promises even when the evidence around us tells us to let go. See, we often want clarity. We want to know how everything is going to turn out before we take that first step. We want the plan, the timeline, the guarantee. But God rarely works that way. He doesn't hand us a blueprint and say, here, study this. I'll meet you at the finish line. No, he says, follow me. And then step by step, he unfolds the journey as we move. That's why faith is forward-looking. It's anchored in what God has said, not in what we can see. If you could see every outcome, predict every detail, and control every result, it wouldn't be faith. It would be certainty. But faith says, even though I don't see it yet, I believe God is already working it out. It's not blind optimism. It's deep assurance, rooted in the character of the one who made the promise. Sometimes we wait for the fear to go away before we act. But faith, that doesn't mean we never feel afraid. It means we trust God more than our fear. It means we step forward, even with trembling hands, believing He's already ahead of us. The truth is, God never asked us to figure it all out. He asked us to follow Him. And when we do, we begin to discover something extraordinary. The more we trust Him, the more we realize He's been guiding us all along. Maybe right now, you're standing at a crossroads, unsure which way to go. Maybe you've been waiting on God to show you the next step, and all you've gotten is silence. Trust that God knows what He's doing. And the waiting is not wasted. The silence is not indifference. He's preparing you, shaping you, aligning things in ways you can't yet see. You don't have to know the outcome to obey. You don't have to understand the process to trust the one who's leading you through it. If God brought you this far, He didn't do it to leave you now. He's not finished. He's still writing the story, and His story is always in redemption. So lift your eyes, take a deep breath, and take the next step, even if it's small. You're not walking alone. Sometimes we look at our lives and wonder if what we're doing really matters. We question our significance, especially when progress feels slow or when our journey doesn't look like someone else's. But the truth is, you are not an isolated piece of a puzzle. You are part of a much larger picture. Your story, your choices, your growth, they're woven into something far greater than just your individual life. God never intended for any of us to walk this journey in a vacuum. He designed us to be part of a divine network of lives that touch, shape, and influence one another. Even when you can't see it, your obedience today may be the answer to someone else's prayer tomorrow. Your perseverance through trials may become the strength that someone else will draw from in their darkest hour. That kind word you spoke, that simple act of service, that prayer you whispered for someone you barely know, none of it is wasted. God is a masterful weaver. He threads moments and movements together in ways we may never understand on this side of heaven. The door that closed in your life might be the one that opened the way for someone else. The delay you experienced may have positioned you perfectly to bless a person you hadn't even met yet. And isn't that just like God? To take our small, faithful steps and use them to accomplish something eternal. Sometimes we get so focused on our own outcomes that we forget we're part of a body, we're part of a kingdom. What you do and how you live carries weight beyond your own life. And when you trust the process God has you in, even when it's hard, you give others permission to trust Him in theirs. You become a living testimony that it's possible to wait in silence and still hear God speak. That it's possible to feel broken and still be used in a powerful way. You may never know the full extent of the impact your life is having, but you don't have to, because God sees it all. And He's orchestrating connections, encounters, and divine moments that stretch far beyond your immediate view. You are not lost in the crowd. You are not overlooked in the chaos. You are seen, known, and intricately placed in this world at this time for a reason. Your life is not just about you. It's about what God wants to do through you in the lives of others. So keep showing up, keep trusting, keep obeying, even when you don't see the whole picture. There comes a point in the journey, after the waiting, the wrestling, the questions, and the striving, when you realize something deep in your soul. You don't have to carry it all. You don't have to fix it all. You don't have to understand it all. That's where surrender comes in. And not the kind of surrender that feels like giving up, but the kind that feels like laying down the weight you were never meant to bear in the first place. You see, we live in a world that tells us to always be in control, to have the answers, to plan every step. But when you walk with God long enough, you learn that control is not peace. Control is pressure. It's only when we finally release our grip and say, Lord, I don't know how this will work out, but I trust that you do, that we begin to experience real rest. Not a temporary relief, but a deep soul-level rest that only comes when we've placed our trust in the hands of the one who holds it all together. Surrender doesn't mean passivity. It doesn't mean you stop caring or stop showing up. It means you trust the outcome to the one who's writing the story. You continue to walk, to serve, to believe, but you stop trying to force what only God can finish, because the truth is, His timing is perfect, His wisdom is limitless, and His love for you is unfailing even when it feels like nothing is happening. He's still moving. Even when the doors don't open, or the answers don't come, or the path winds in ways you never expected, He is still leading. Some of you have been carrying a burden far too long, trying to hold everything together, trying to figure out how to fix what's broken or how to make something happen in your own strength. And today, God is gently reminding you, you were never meant to carry this alone. He's already working, He's already moving, He's already put things in place that you can't see yet. And the greatest thing you can do in this moment is to rest in that truth. Rest is not the absence of movement, it's the presence of trust. It's standing in the storm with peace because you know the one who commands the wind. It's walking through uncertainty with confidence because your confidence isn't in your plan, it's in your provider. And when you surrender, when you let go of trying to control the process, you make room for God to do what only He can do. So breathe, let go. Trust the process, not because it makes sense, but because the one behind it is faithful.